Lena had always been a quiet observer, the type who preferred to watch life unfold from the sidelines rather than participate. As a writer, she had a gift for weaving words together, capturing the emotions and moments that others often overlooked. But in her personal life, Lena had one secret that she could never bring herself to reveal: her feelings for a fellow writer, Isaac. Isaac was everything Lena admired: brilliant, insightful, and endlessly kind. They'd met at a local writers' workshop months ago, and though their paths crossed frequently, Lena never found the courage to tell him how much he meant to her. Each time they spoke, her words seemed to falter, her heart racing faster than her tongue could keep up. She couldn't bear the thought of confessing, of ruining the delicate dynamic they shared. One evening, as she sat in the dim light of her apartment, Lena stared at the blank page before her. She had spent hours working on her novel, but all she could think about was Isaac. She picked up her pen and began to write, only it wasn't for her book. The first letter was simple. It was a confession, a pouring out of all the emotions she had buried for so long. It was never meant to be read by anyone other than herself, but something inside her urged her to leave it on Isaac's doorstep. No name, no return address, just the words, raw and unfiltered. She folded the letter, sealed it, and slipped out into the night. Isaac was sitting in his favorite armchair, a cup of tea in hand, when he noticed the envelope on his doorstep. It was pristine, unmarked, save for his name written in elegant script across the front. He hesitated for a moment before opening it, the letter inside a simple confession of love and admiration. Isaac's heart skipped a beat as he read the words, recognizing something familiar in them. There was no signature, no hint as to who had written it, but something about the vulnerability in those words struck a chord deep within him. For days, he couldn't stop thinking about the letter. The sincerity, the honesty, it felt like something he had been yearning for, but had never found. Isaac didn't tell anyone about the letter, not even his closest friends. Instead, he found himself returning to it again and again, reading the words over and over. The letter had sparked something within him, something that made him question everything he thought he knew about love and connection. Lena had left the letter without any expectations. She never imagined it would lead to anything more than a fleeting moment of relief. But when she sat down at her typewriter the following evening, a second letter formed. This one wasn't just a confession. It was a reflection, a deeper exploration of the feelings that had been growing inside her for months. She left it in the same place, once again slipping into the shadows of the night. This time, she waited longer before she left, unsure of what to expect. Days passed, and Isaac received another letter. His heart raced as he recognized the familiar handwriting. It was the same delicate script, the same vulnerability, but this time, the words seemed even more intimate, as though the writer was slowly opening up their soul to him. Isaac couldn't help but feel a sense of connection growing between them, though he still had no idea who the mysterious writer was. The more letters he received, the more his world seemed to revolve around them. With each word, he found himself falling deeper into a spiral of curiosity, admiration, and longing. One evening, after receiving yet another letter, Isaac found himself standing on his doorstep, staring at the empty street. He couldn't keep waiting forever. He had to know who the writer was, even if it meant risking the magic of the mystery. Lena had just finished writing another letter when she heard the knock on her door. She froze, her heart racing. Who could it be at this hour? She opened the door, and there stood Isaac, his eyes wide with anticipation. The world seemed to pause for a moment, and in that quiet space, their gazes locked. "Isaac," Lena whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I've been reading your letters," Isaac said softly. "I had to know who you were." Lena's heart pounded in her chest. She had never expected this moment to come. She had thought the letters would remain anonymous forever, a secret she could keep safe in her heart. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why did you come?" Isaac smiled, a soft, genuine smile that warmed her from the inside. "Because your words touched me, more than anything else ever has. I don't know how to explain it, but I need to know the person behind them." Lena felt the weight of the moment settle around them, and for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. Instead, she felt a sense of relief, as though the secret she had been holding for so long was no longer hers to carry alone. "I'm the one who wrote them," Lena confessed, her voice steady now. "I couldn't say it to you in person, but I've been falling for you, Isaac. Every word, every letter, it's all been for you." Isaac stepped closer, his hand reaching out to gently touch hers. "I've been falling for you too, Lena. I just didn't know how to say it." In that moment, all the unspoken words, the letters, and the quiet yearning they had both carried came together. The secret letters of the heart had bridged the gap between them, and now, they were no longer strangers to each other's souls. Their story was no longer just about written words, it was about the love they had been too afraid to speak, now finally free to grow and unfold. And as the night deepened around them, the unspoken became spoken, and their hearts, once quiet and solitary, found solace in each other's embrace. As the days passed, Lena and Isaac found themselves growing closer, their bond strengthened by the letters that had first brought them together. What had started as an anonymous exchange had now blossomed into something far deeper, more meaningful. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter, shared stories, and the quiet intimacy that comes from truly understanding another person. Isaac would visit Lena in her cozy apartment, where they would spend hours reading together, discussing literature, and sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence, lost in their own thoughts. The letters, once a secret part of their hearts, became a cherished memory they would revisit from time to time. But no longer did they need to hide behind words on paper. They had each other now. Yet, even as their connection grew, there was a part of Lena that still hesitated. She had opened up to Isaac, yes, but there was a lingering fear that perhaps the letters had been too perfect, too carefully crafted. What if the real them couldn't measure up to the idealized version of their relationship that had been built through the written word? One evening, as they sat together in her living room, Lena hesitated before speaking. Isaac noticed her shift in demeanor and set his book down, giving her his full attention. "Is something bothering you?" he asked, his voice gentle, as though he could sense the tension in the air. Lena took a deep breath, struggling to find the right words. I think I've been afraid, Isaac. Afraid that the person I am in the letters isn't the same person I am in real life. I don't want you to think that I'm only a collection of carefully chosen words." Isaac's expression softened, and he reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly. "Lena, I don't need the perfect version of you. I need the real you. And I've come to care for you, every part of you, the writer, the dreamer, the person who's a little scared sometimes, just like me." Tears welled up in Lena's eyes as she looked at him. But the letters, they were so easy. They allowed me to say things I could never say in person. Isaac smiled, his thumb brushing across her hand. "And that's the beauty of it. The letters showed me the depth of your heart, your vulnerability. But who you are in person is what matters now. And I'm not going anywhere. We're writing this story together, Lena, and there's no script we have to follow. Just us." Lena felt the weight lift from her chest as she looked at Isaac, the sincerity in his eyes making her heart swell. She realized then that their love wasn't bound by the words on paper, but by the quiet moments they shared, the laughter they found in each other's company, and the way they understood each other without needing to speak. The following week, they decided to take a trip to the nearby lake, the place where they had first met during that writer's workshop. It was a peaceful spot, surrounded by nature, a place where they could talk freely, with no distractions. They sat by the water, letting the cool breeze ruffle their hair as they talked about their dreams, their fears, and everything in between. Lena found herself sharing more than she had ever expected, telling Isaac about her struggles as a writer, the moments of self-doubt that often kept her awake at night. Isaac listened intently, never interrupting, just offering his presence, his unwavering support. "I know it's like," Isaac said softly, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "To feel like your words aren't enough, to think you'll never be able to say exactly what you mean. But you've already said so much, Lena, through your letters, through your heart, and I'm here always." Lena smiled, her heart full. The weight of her fears had lifted, replaced by a sense of peace she hadn't known she could feel. The love she had poured into the letters had now become a love she could hold in her hands, feel in her chest, and share with Isaac without fear. As the sun set over the lake, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, they leaned against each other, the sound of the water lapping gently against the shore. It felt like the beginning of a new chapter, one where their love would continue to unfold, not through anonymous letters, but through every moment they shared together. Lena rested her head on Isaac's shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. "I never thought it would turn out like this. I never thought I could find someone who understands me the way you do." Isaac pressed a kiss to the top of her head, his voice low and steady. "I didn't know I was looking for you either, but now that I've found you, I'm not letting go." In that moment, Lena realized that love wasn't about perfection, about carefully chosen words or grand gestures. It was about vulnerability, trust, and the quiet moments of connection that made everything else fade away. And as they sat together by the water, the world around them felt still, as if the universe itself had conspired to bring them together in this perfect, unexpected way. The secret letters of the heart had led them to this point, but it was the real, unspoken love between them that would carry them forward through every chapter of their story. As the days turned into weeks, Lena and Isaac's connection continued to grow in ways neither had imagined. Their time together became a balance of creativity, laughter, and deep conversations that flowed effortlessly. The secret letters, once the foundation of their relationship, now felt like a distant but cherished memory and introduction to a bond that was far richer and more profound than either of them had expected. Isaac encouraged Lena to take her writing more seriously, pushing her to submit her work to literary magazines and contests, while Lena provided Isaac with the space to write his own novels, offering her insight into his stories and encouraging him when he doubted himself. They were each other's greatest supporters, but more importantly, they had become the kind of partners who could rely on each other's honesty, understanding, and unwavering belief in the other's potential. But just as things were settling into a rhythm of joy and comfort, life had a way of throwing unexpected challenges in their path. One rainy afternoon, Lena came home to find a letter waiting for her, but this time it wasn't from Isaac. The handwriting on the envelope was unfamiliar sharp, elegant strokes that sent a jolt of unease through her. She hesitated for a moment before tearing open the envelope, her heart pounding. Inside, there was a single page, the words scrawled with urgency. "Lena, I've been watching you. I know what you did, and I'm not going to let you get away with it. The letters you wrote to Isaac, he doesn't know everything. You think your words have changed everything, but I see through you. You can't hide forever. I'll make sure Isaac finds out what's really going on. An old friend." Lena's hands shook as she read the letter again. Her breath caught in her throat, the words lingering like poison. She scanned the page for any hint of who might have written it, but there was nothing more than the ominous signature at the end. A part of her wanted to believe it was just a cruel prank, but the weight of the message felt far too real. It was then that a deep fear crept into her heart, fear that Isaac's love for her, so genuine and pure, might be at risk. What if someone from her past, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, was threatening to expose something she had buried long ago? Something she had never told Isaac about. In the beginning, Lena had always believed that her past could remain in the shadows, that the letters would be enough to build a future with Isaac that was free of secrets. But now, it seemed as if her past was rising up to haunt her, threatening the very things she held most dear. The next day, Isaac noticed the change in Lena. She was quieter than usual, her mind elsewhere, and it took everything in him to not push her to open up. He could sense something was off, but he didn't want to pry too much. That evening, as they walked through the city after dinner, Lena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her fear grow heavier. Finally, she stopped in her tracks, turning to face Isaac. Her hands were trembling, but she forced herself to speak. "Isaac, there's something I need to tell you." Isaac's heart skipped a beat. The last time she had said those words, it had been when she confessed her love to him, and everything had changed for the better. But now, the anxiety in her voice, made him wonder what had shifted. "I'm listening, Lena. What's going on?" Lena looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of love and regret. "There's someone from my past who knows about the letters. And it's not just that they know. They're threatening to tell you things about me. Things I never wanted you to know." Isaac frowned, his concern deepening. "What things, Lena? You can tell me anything." Lena took a deep breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "Before I met you, I made mistakes. Things I'm not proud of. There was a time when I didn't know who I was, and I did things that hurt people that hurt me. I thought I had put all of it behind me. But this person, this old friend, has come back to remind me of what I did." Isaac stepped closer, his hand gently cupping her cheek, urging her to meet his gaze. "Lena, no matter what you've done, I'm here. I love you. That's not going to change." But Lena shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. "It's not that simple. If this person tells you about my past, I don't want you to see me differently. I don't want you to think that what we have now is a lie." Isaac's heart broke for her. He could feel her vulnerability, her fear, and he knew she was battling an inner storm of self-doubt. But in that moment, he also knew that no secret, no past, could change how he felt about her. "I don't care what you've done before," Isaac said firmly. "What matters to me is who you are now. The person standing in front of me is the one I love. I don't need to know every detail of your past to know that what we have is real." Lena's breath caught in her throat as she looked at him, the weight of her fears slowly beginning to lift. "You mean that?" "I mean it, with all my heart." With a shaky smile, Lena nodded, feeling the warmth of Isaac's words settle into her chest. She had been afraid that the secrets she had carried would tear them apart, but Isaac's acceptance was like a balm to her soul. For the first time, she realized that the love they shared didn't depend on perfection or a flawless past. It depended on honesty, trust, and the willingness to grow together. That night, Lena decided to take control of her own story. She reached out to the person who had sent the letter, determined to face whatever demons from her past still lingered. It was time to confront them, to make peace with the past, and move forward with Isaac by her side. Isaac, for his part, stood by her without hesitation. Together, they would face whatever came their way, their love a shield against the challenges ahead. And as the days went on, Lena knew that the letters, the past, and the fears would always be part of their story. But it was the present, the real, unspoken connection between them that would define their future. They were no longer writing a story from a distance. They were living it, hand in hand, with each word, each moment, creating a love that was as deep and unbreakable as any letter ever could be.